George Stoya with Denver.
Hey, Mac. Was just wondering if you've spoken to the 49ers as well as the Broncos, and then I have a follow-up question after that.
Yeah, I got a chance to talk with, first of all 32 teams, obviously at the Senior Bowl. So that was really awesome. But, some teams will follow up with, meetings, and I know they get an hour on Zoom or whatever like that. But I kind of just schedule it throughout the week, and I have a bunch coming up in the future. Like, honestly, right now, between my pro days, I kind of didn't do a lot of that stuff just to focus on pro day. But I have met with about at least 20 teams, it seems like, at this point, and there's a few more coming. So,
what were those meetings with the Broncos like? And I mean, what do you know about that Broncos offense? Obviously, Jerry Jeudy, somebody that you're probably familiar with and playing with him.
Yeah, so I'm going to meet with them, I think, sometime next week. So I haven't met with them yet, but Jerry, is a close friend of mine. He was my roommate my freshman year, and he's a great player. But they do a bunch of good stuff, in watching them with tight ends and receivers. So I'm kind of looking forward to. I like going into the meetings and just talking with the coaches and seeing what they have to offer, and then kind of watching our tape is kind of how those meetings go. And you just talk through it and kind of pass off similarities between the offenses or things like that.
We'll go to Nick Hamilton. Go ahead, Nick.
Good afternoon, Mac. How much do you know, or how familiar are you with the 49ers offense and Kyle Shanahan?
Yeah, I've watched their tape and stuff. I've got a chance to watch a lot of everybody, but 49ers specifically. Obviously, they run a lot of wide zone. They also have a great fullback, so they can run power, and they do a bunch of good play pass off of that. So outside zone, sprint out stuff. Obviously their drop back passing game is really similar to what we did with Sark, and some of their motions that they use. I noticed they got the boomerang motions and the cat motions across the ball fast. So that's all stuff that I'm really familiar with. And obviously it's a super quarterback-friendly offense, and they have great playmakers there. So I'm really looking forward to just learning more about that.
We'll go to Orlando Ledbetter. Go ahead, Orlando.
Yes, Mac. Where do you see yourself fitting in this sphere of the quarterbacks in this class? And, how do you, plan to, spend draft night? Or are you going to go to Cleveland and so forth?
Yeah, so, this quarterback class is a really good class. I'm just blessed to be a part of it. Obviously you can watch the guys' tape and see that we all have, great tape. And, what separates me is my preparation and my ability to take what I learn from the coaches' meetings and my own meetings and then apply it to the field. I'm going to do exactly what the coach tells me to do, and I'm going to play within the framework of the offense. But, at Alabama, I was asked to throw bubble passes and throw down the field, and I just did whatever Coach Sark wanted me to do. And if another team wants me to run zone read or do something like that, I'll do that. So I'm willing to do whatever. And in terms of the draft, I really haven't even thought about that. Pro day's tomorrow, so I'll have more time to sit down with my family and kind of go over that. But it'd either be going up there or just staying here in Tuscaloosa and kind of just getting ready for it with my family.
Okay, we'll go to Aaron Suttles.
A year ago, Mac, would you have envisioned you being in this position that you are right now?
Yeah, I always have the confidence in myself, but I try not to put too much in my brain and say I'm going to be in the NFL draft and things like that. Really, I was just trying to, fight for my spot. Tua went down and we lost that Auburn game and then kind of finished the season pretty well. But in my mind, I was just focused on looking at, how I could get better in the offseason like I would do with any offseason. And I made a bunch of good improvements. And obviously last year we had, COVID kind of hit, so it was definitely weird. But, looking back on it, I worked really hard to be here. And everything that I've done, I've worked for. So it's not just like it's been handed to me.
Go to Matthew Barrows.
Pro teams are looking for, will there be more under center stuff, more rollouts, that sort of thing?
Yeah, there's going to be a bunch of different teams there, and that's really good to hear that the 49ers will be there. But like I said, a lot of the stuff that I put out there, even on the first pro day, for what we had, obviously, we had some underclassmen out there. I try to just show different stuff, and all they want to see is how your feet move and how the ball comes out and how you interact with your teammates. So I feel like I did that well, but this next pro day, there's going to be some deep shots and things like that. But the offense we had here is a lot of stuff I'm basing it off of, and we did a lot of pro-style stuff, but, some under center, play action, some, just show a little bit of everything, and hopefully that some of the teams can see what they do and kind of envision what I'm doing out there and kind of apply it to their offense. So I'm doing a little bit of everything, even some things that I might not have even done here, but most of it is stuff that we've done, and I'm just going to show a bunch of different stuff.
We'll go to Doug Farr. Go ahead, Doug.
Hi, Mac. Thanks for doing this. You did last season as much from the pocket as any quarterback could. Not a lot left to prove there. I'm sure you've heard the concerns about your ability to roll out and run boot, play action boot, second reaction ability. If teams bring that up to you, what would you say? Was that like an underutilized skill that maybe you can do more of, or is it something you're working on in the off season? Because it's sort of an NFL requirement now.
Oh, yeah.
How are you sort of handling those concerns?
Yeah, so, I mean, I ran the 4.740, so that should have helped out. But I know what you're saying in terms of, like, wide zone boot and stuff like that. And actually, going back, that's one of my favorite plays to run. I know we didn't do a lot of it this year because we didn't have to, but even if you asked, like, Coach Loxley or somebody like that, I'd always be like, hey, can we get a naked right here, or start a scrimmage off with a naked, which is just like the naked bootleg you're talking about. So we didn't do a lot of it, and I don't know if it was because I kind of inherited a little bit of Tua's stuff and what they were doing there, but I can do it all. Obviously, there's not a ton of tape on it, but even in high school, I ran like the wing tee, so there was a lot of moving, throwing on the run and stuff like that. So it's all like stuff I've done in the past, but I'm working on that now, and tomorrow I'll get a chance to show some of that as well. But it's just something that we didn't, do a crazy amount of just with the scheme that we had and what we wanted to do this past year.
Go to Alex Fleming.
Jalen Hurts is starting anew in Philadelphia. And Tua, well, the jury's still out. We don't know what he can do. But there's a stigma on Alabama quarterbacks. Do you feel any pressure after you're being drafted to end or at least release the stigma that there's not a lot of successful Alabama quarterbacks in the league?
Not really. I mean, I was, fortunate to play with both those guys, and they're great players, and they're going to get even better because that's how we are. We're a room that when I was here, when we had a bad day or we made some bad throws, the next throws were always the best throws. So I expect all of us to, they're going to have their hard times rookie year. I'm going to have my hard times rookie year, and then it's all about what you do after that. So, I mean, that's more of like a media thing, I guess, but you can buy into it if you want. But at the end of the day, all those guys, Tua, Jalen, me, like we're all going to work hard, and we're super, super competitive. Probably, the most competitive guys I've been around. So we're just going to get better every day.
Go to Dan Widener.
What are the challenges for you in giving teams sort of the full extent of your football acumen while the pre-draft process is still sort of restricted in terms of how much you can visit and spend time with these teams? Yeah.
So obviously we get to do a lot of Zoom stuff. I've gotten a chance to show what I know just watching our film, and some teams will pull up games and plays from last year, and I'll remember every detail that all 22 people were doing. And I don't know what it is. Maybe I have a little bit of a photographic memory, but I just remember, and if it's a good play or a bad play, I'll just remember what it was, and they really don't even have to roll the tape, and I'll remember. So I take a lot of pride in recall and stuff like that, and just learning what I did good and learning what I did bad, because at the end of the day, when you make good plays, you have to figure out what went well, and then when you make bad plays, you have to figure out what the problem was. So I've shown that in meetings on the board and watching my film and NFL film. So I think definitely been impressed some teams, but at the end of the day, it's all about what I do at the next meeting. So we'll see what that is.
We'll go to Mac Engel.
You've mentioned Coach Sarkisian a lot. He's obviously left. He's the head coach of the University of Texas. Mac, what did he do so well that you think has such a great impact on your career as a quarterback?
Yeah, I think, first of all, he kind of makes everything, around the quarterback. So, like, we're going to have those meetings, and it's going to be, all right, do you feel comfortable with this? Do you feel comfortable with that? So we're on the same page to start out. And a lot of teams, like offensive coordinators, will just do what they do. And Sark did a good job, tailoring to some of my strengths this year. But at the same time, he's going to call the offense that he's always called. But for me and him, our relationship just got way better as time went along, and he really understood me as a person, which is important, because if he knows, when I'm kind of down on myself or when I have a bad play, like he knows how to get me back. He knows that sometimes I just need a little bit of time to just regroup. So we got really good at that, and that's why we were able to just operate at a super high level.
We'll go to Josh Allen.
Who have you kind of leaned on as like a mentor throughout this process, through the whole pro draft and pro day and pre-draft process? And then have you had any communications with the Buccaneers at all?
In terms of mentors, yeah. I worked with David Morris down in Mobile. He's really good with throwing mechanics and things like that. And then obviously my longtime quarterback coach, Joe Dickinson, literally has helped me probably the most. He just sits down there and watches film with me sometimes for 2 or 3 hours at a time, and he's done a great job there. And then in terms of the Buccaneers, no, I just talked to him at the Senior Bowl. We had a good conversation, mostly about a lot of the guys on my team, just talking ball a little bit, but I haven't had a formal meeting with them or anything like that.
Go to Eric Branch.
Hi, Mac, if I could ask 2 quick questions. One, did you feel a great sense of relief, after you posted that 40 time, that, hey, you actually can move, you're not a statue? And also, just the, kind of this talk since the 49ers trade, that you could be a target at number 3. Does that surprise you, or do you say, yeah, finally someone sees my ability, that's where I should be going?
Yeah, in terms of the 40, I've always believed in my athleticism. I honestly kind of just make jokes about it, but I really am a pretty good athlete. And the numbers are the numbers. At the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. But I think I proved that at least I'm going to go out there and compete and even have fun with it. And just that's kind of how I am. So I went out there and competed and ran really good times, not just the 40, but with the other, cone drills and all that. And I was fired up about it because I'm competitive. And then your second question was, sorry.
Oh, no problem. Just since the 49ers made that trade, there's been so much buzz. And is that like, wow, that's a surprise? Or do you like, yeah, that's right?
Not really. Teams it takes one team to kind of like fall in love with a guy, and hopefully I can do that. Whatever team wants to do that would be awesome. But at the end of the day, I'm not surprised that there's some teams that are going to be trading up, and the 49ers would be awesome to play for. But at the end of the day, I can't look at it too much and let it be a distraction. They're going to pick who they're going to pick, and I'm just going to go in and work like I did for 4 years at Alabama, and hopefully it works out in the long run and all that. So I'm not really surprised. You just work for it, and then hopefully people see it. I know for a fact that the teams in meeting with me have been impressed with my football IQ, and they watch the tape and see that I have some of the best tape. So, yeah, I think that it's more of a media thing that people want to knock me a little bit, but it is what it is.
We'll go to Griffin Floyd.
So in the NFL, run-pass options are kind of becoming the new big thing. And you ran a lot of that at Bama. Can you kind of tell me about your thought process when you're running those and how you think that might help you as a player? Yeah,
that's a good question. In the NFL, obviously, you can't run down the field like we do in college with the linemen. So they're a little bit more strict there. So you can't, we were even doing some like deeper, 10-yard routes down the field, and you can get away with it as long as your line knows. But in college, they kind of give you a little bit more leeway. But we did a lot of stuff, and a lot of teams kind of, I'm sure watched what we did. And we've also taken some stuff from some NFL teams. So it's kind of the new world. And I've actually grown to like RPOs. At first, I was a little hesitant because I was telling some teams, like, it's a little bit of a gray area. Sometimes you don't know exactly who you're reading. But once you figure that out and kind of just see the whole picture and see who you're supposed to look at, then RPOs can just be used to your advantage. It's hard to defend a run and a pass play at the same time. That's really just a fact.
Okay, we're going to finish back up with Jacob Infante.
A lot of analysts have called you the most pro-ready quarterback in this class. So I'm just wondering, can you speak a little bit to your ability to make those full field reads and to be able to throw under pressure and be able to deliver an accurate ball? And also, you mentioned speaking with teams, but have you had a formal meeting with the Bears? I know that they've been a pretty popular mock draft spot for you, so to speak.
Yeah, so in terms of being pro-ready, I think I've always tried to be a pro, whatever I do. And I think that a team that picks me is going to realize that they don't have to worry about me being the first guy in or the last guy out. I'm going to sit and watch as much film as I can and do all the right things. And then obviously, the tape speaks for itself. You can watch what I did, and nobody knows my reads. So people out there that say that I'm just throwing to the first guy, it's not necessarily true. I do a really good job of dissecting the defenses. And I'm going to continue to do that. Obviously, in the NFL, it's going to be a lot more difficult, but hopefully I'll be able to figure that out. So in terms of that, I just got to, kind of evaluate where I'm at after this pro day and just continue to grow in the weight room, get a little bit more strength and speed and all that stuff, and it'll all work out how it's supposed to work out. And in terms of the Bears, I've met with them. It was a really great meeting. We just talked football for like an hour straight. That's the best type of meeting for me, is just talking ball. So hopefully I'll get a chance to talk to them more and see where that relationship kind of heads as well.